Hello and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going over 5 expansions that I consider to be essential expansions, plus one that I have heard is an essential expansion but have not tried out yet myself. And I'm going to go into why I consider these expansions to be essential. Before we get into the expansions, I want to take just a minute to explain what I mean here by calling these expansions essential, because there's lots of great expansions that I have and enjoy playing, but I wouldn't necessarily consider them to be essential. First of all, I don't mean that these essentials fix a broken or not good base game. In fact, a few of these games on this list made my original top 10 list back in 2021, even before I tried them with these expansions. I'm also not saying that you absolutely have to play with these expansions. What I am saying by labeling these expansions essential is that they elevate a game in a practically objectively good way, or at least as close to objectively good as you can get there. There is some opinion, of course, here. I'm also saying that I would highly recommend playing with these expansions always once you've introduced them, except in a few cases when you're teaching new people. And I personally would never want to play without these expansions now that I've added them. I would also highly recommend adding most of these either for your first game or after a game or two. There is one that I would recommend holding off on until you've played all the way through the 7 chapters of the base game and adding it later on. And I'll also say that these are not necessarily my favorite expansions. In fact, one of the games on my list actually has another expansion that is my favorite for that game, but not exactly what I consider essential here. What the essential expansion adds is something I would recommend for everyone to add and play with always, whereas my favorite expansion for that game, I would recommend just to change up the game a bit in an interesting kind of way. And so, without further ado, let's get into my first game here, and that is the Parks Nightfall expansion. And in this expansion, you have improved bonus goals. You're able to get new bonus goals as well, and there's tents to provide alternate abilities. In the base game, the bonus goals were very weak and not exactly something that you would want to go after as much, and you couldn't get more of those. And plus, those alternate tent abilities really give you something else to focus on, some extra benefits throughout the game. And so I highly recommend the Parks Nightfall expansion. Elevated Parks from a 9 for me to a 9.5. And the next one is Prelude for Terraforming Mars. It jumpstarts your game with asymmetric benefits for the beginning of the game, and it gets your engine going and may provide additional direction for your strategy. It does speed up the start of the game for you a little bit so that you're not spending so much time focused on just getting that engine rolling. And so I really enjoy how that just gets you going really fast into the game. And so I highly recommend playing with Prelude always. The next one is the Belfair expansion for Everdell, which provides special events that are different. The original special events for Everdell were ones that required a lot of luck to find. You had to find 2 specific cards in the deck, and it's a huge deck of cards, and if those cards never came up, then that special event just didn't matter. You couldn't go after it anyway. Or if only one of the 2 came up, or if one came up and your opponent got that and the other one never came up, nobody gets to get that special event. And so it was really quite a waste to have those special events sometimes that we really relied on luck. There's only one in the original base game that didn't have that kind of luck element to it. But the Everdell Belfair expansion adds in a whole new bunch of special events that you can pretty much always kind of chase after no matter what cards come up. And so I really liked it for that, as well as it adds a 5th and 6th player ability to be able to play with those player counts. It adds different modules that are very good as well. You've got this market that you can go to that adds just kind of extra way that you can get stuff. You've got asymmetric player powers that you can choose to add into the game or not, and additional forest locations to kind of change things up a bit there. It allows the game, like I said, to play at 5 or 6 players. So there's a lot of different modules and different things that Belfair adds that I highly recommend it, but I especially say it's essential for the fact that it adds those better special events that you can go after. Next one I want to bring up is Skullport for the Lords of Waterdeep. This one is arguably not essential, but it certainly is one I would always want to include for how it elevates the game. And I would recommend playing the base game first on this one. But what it adds here, the big thing it adds is corruption, which you can take on by doing certain actions, and they yield negative points if you don't manage to get rid of that corruption by the end of the game. And how much each corruption token is worth, basically to take off of your score, depends on how much corruption is taken by players throughout the game. And so it's going to be increasing throughout the game. And you don't know how much that corruption is going to really cost you, but you still want to kind of get rid of it even if it's on the lower end there. But usually it's getting kind of high by the end of that game. And so adds kind of a more powerful things that can get your engine going, but at a risk. How much corruption are you going to take on? Because that corruption could wind up being stuck with you. And so you got a little bit of kind of a push your luck there. Can I get rid of all this corruption by the end of the game? It also provides additional worker placement spots, which opens up the game a bit. And overall, this one provides more strategy and decision space, and even, like I said, that push your luck as you take on that corruption to do more powerful actions that really get your engine going there, or your ability to do things going, and hoping you can get rid of it in time. And so that is the Skullport for Lords of Waterdeep. And then the next one is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, their expansions. And I recommend both of these, and this is the one that I was mentioning earlier, that not necessarily that you need to get these right away, but rather I'd say play through the 7 years and then add in one of these at a time, starting with the monster box. I got this upside down, the monster box of monsters here. Start with that one because it's the first one that came out, and then add in the charms and potions one. And each of these are going to increase the longevity of the game and how replayable the game is. After you play through and beat all 7 years of the base game, you can add these in order to freshen up the game by adding a whole new set of chapters to play out. And each of these expansions adds a new feel to the game as well. And so I think these are essential to increase that longevity there once you've played those first several games there. And then the final one I want to bring up is going to be the Valhalla expansion for Champions of Midgard, and this is the game that I haven't actually gotten a chance to play the expansion here, but it's one that I've heard recommended by so many people. The main benefit of this expansion is that and what makes it essential is that it provides a benefit for your fallen warriors. It makes those lost warriors not such a bad thing because they are going to give you that benefit. And so let me know in the comments below what you think about this list and what you think about this one. Is it essential? Because I haven't had a chance to play it myself, but I just heard from so many people that it is indeed essential. What about the other ones that I've mentioned here? Are they as essential as I make them out to be, or do you disagree? Are there other games that you think have essential expansions, and what are they? Let me know about all those in the comments down below. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will catch you in the next one.